We have so many smart people in this world. We have people running around with so many letters and designations and everything after their names. We have employers asking for minimum wage jobs and they want you to have a master's degree because they think that this makes you smart. It might make you smart, but there's one thing I'm going to tell you that we are sorely lacking, and that's of intelligence. Just because you can memorize stuff and spew stuff out and have a couple letters after your name does not make you intelligent. You might be a little clever, you might be a little smart, but intelligent conversation and discourse is something that is so hard to find people to engage with. Case in point, this last week, this just happened. I don't care if I actually even agree with your viewpoint. If you're going to be somebody who's going to get into my space and start spewing headlines and making it known as much as you can that you know what you know, you're going to be unwavering, you are not open to hearing any other perspectives, because even if you can be proven wrong, you know what you know, you can guarantee yourself that I am going to play devil's advocate. I will always take the opposing side and I will challenge you, because I just don't like unintelligent people. It just bothers me. Like I said, if you agree with the side of the political spectrum that I agree with, or that I tend to align with more, I don't care where you're coming from. If you don't have an open mind, if you cannot engage in actual conversation and discourse, if you absolutely refuse and let it be known from the get-go that you will refuse to even entertain somebody else's perspective and where they might be coming from, so frustrating. I'm just not there for it, unless of course I'm playing devil's advocate. So let me set this up for you. This past week, a friend of mine picks me up and he's got another friend in the car. We're going to a site visit for to view a site that might be potential for some offices for a cooperative, a business networking cooperative that I'm on the board of. This other gentleman who's in the vehicle, I don't even really know why he's there. He refuses to take out a membership in the organization. He's not on the board. He has zero real interaction with the organization, but yet always wants to be involved in everything we're doing. Super negative. Always no, very smug nose too. And like I said, he definitely prides himself as being the most intelligent and most clever man in the room. So if you aren't aware, I live in a province called Alberta, which is in Canada. So if you're not sure how Canada works, if you don't know very much about us, it's not a state, it's a province, and I live in Alberta. And we have just had a new premier take leadership of the province. And there is a lot of just keyword tag words that are being used to attack her with, because really right at this point in time, the opponents really don't have much to attack her with, simply because she's doing everything that they would have done, but now that she's done it, they have nothing to talk about, aside from them saying that she needed to do these things, and now that she's doing them, well, how is she going to pay for them? Well, we're not going to get into all of that. It just basically comes down to that closed mindset, right? No matter what she does, the other side, the other team, the other major player is just not going to accept it, not going to give her any credence for it, or anything. They're just, all they want to do is find new ways to attack her, new things, and even if it means contradicting themselves, which is tiring and gross, but it is what it is. So this guy gets in and this new leader, she's this and she's that and she's the other thing. Well, so I ask him, you clearly have enough information, you clearly know enough about what you're talking about to have formed the opinion. So clearly you've got information, you've done some research, whatever, to substantiate. So give me your evidence of these things. I am willing to have a conversation with you. I'm willing to concede, whatever. But I need your evidence-based presentation in which to have things to look up, things to research. I got my phone on me, so I can research right here and now. He mentions one thing, and I was like, okay, I don't remember her saying anything like that, but hop on my phone, do some research. Oh, hey, like there's this other thing that happened, back in March or something like that. Or was it November? I can't remember. Anyway, is that what you're talking about? Is that what you're referring to? Yeah, she said that. And I'm like, okay, I can concede with you that maybe what she said, the headline of it was a little overboard. Maybe she went a little too far with it. But at the same time, I could see where, that certain group of people, or where the premier believes that certain group of people was mistreated, at least, right? And to which he just jumps right in. And I'm like, hey, wait, like, discrimination, the very essence of discrimination means that a group of people, right, go out of their way to ostracize and to not allow another group of people to engage in the community, in society, based on whatever perceived attributes of that other group that the main group doesn't approve of. By the very definition of discrimination, and I get that that's not the Webster's version of it, but it's the essence of it, right? Then it can be argued that this group as well as this group, they did face some discrimination. Anyway, so now he's getting flustered because I actually looked it up and, had some discourse, and he had nothing to rebut with. So he just basically got a little, a little antsy or whatever you want to say, and shut down. We continued on with the conversation, and every time that he brought up a point, I said, well, evidence. Well, I'd have to go through my paperwork at home. It's all at home. Okay, so you have enough information to make these judgments, to firmly have this in your belief system, but you don't have enough information embedded in your mind about it to actually know why. You can't, you would think that if you feel that strongly about something, you would know why and be able to present the information. He couldn't. So that was what it was. And we went on about our site visit and what have you, and I just had to leave that behind, but it was kind of funny to me. Then the next day or the day after, I open up, please forgive me, I'm only on Facebook still, or Meta, or whatever the heck you call it, because I do some social media for some people. There is an announcement on there from Danielle Smith, who is the new premier, and there's people making comments, this coming from this person who, or from the party that, that took, decreased frontline workers, healthcare workers' wages by 11%, and blaming the province for inflation and inflationary rate, and how, they need to be doing things that are more substantive to actually helping people and getting the inflation under control. So I started looking into these things because, as I said, I am fact, logic, evidence-based as much as possible. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to say I don't ever have an emotional response, whatever, to some things that people say. I'm not ever going to say that I've never gone into a debate or a conversation without having all of the information. Even I can get caught up a little bit in the things that I hear. We're all human. However, for the most part, I believe in doing my research. So here's what I found out. Did the United Conservative Party decrease healthcare wages by 11%? Based on the last article that I could find related to this, which was from March of this year, that the CBC, so the publicly funded, federally funded news outlet that is liberal leaning, that they published, this is the last one that I could find. They, even in their headline, did not actually say that these rollbacks happened. They actually said that they were proposed. From what I can understand, as of March 14th, I can't find any more information. So as far as I understand to this point, they have not actually been implemented, which would actually make sense because March was exactly the time around when we were in the leadership race and everything, because we'd had the review, or we were in process of the vote for the leadership review and everything. So there's no way that anything was actually taken care of or implemented at that point in time, because we were too busy with the leadership review and then and the leadership vote and everything. And also keeping in mind that if that's the case, which it is, March and the months prior, so February, January, that was Jason Kenney's government. That was when Jason Kenney was in the leadership of the United Conservative Party, not Danielle Smith. Danielle had absolutely nothing to do with even the proposal. But then I got looking into, what were they talking about? We actually, just give me 1 second here, we actually increased spending into healthcare services. It was not nurses. It was not those frontline workers. It was audiologists that they had asked, would you put a freeze on or decrease? And some of them were as low as actually 1%. They asked them to roll back. So there was maybe only one or two that were near the 11%, but it was not overall. It was not overall 11%. And then they put more money into it because we need more frontline workers, which is exactly what Danielle is proposing. She wants to take away from, it's a very top-heavy organization right now. We have supervisors, for directors and managers for supervisors and managers for managers, and it's inefficient and ineffective, and our healthcare system is crumbling apart right now. So it was not, and like I said, from what I understand, from what I can find through my research, hasn't even been implemented, hasn't even been talked about again since, because Danielle's been too busy trying to deal with that top heavy organization and dealing with that so that we can put more money into the frontline workers. So even, like I said, if you look back on the CBC March 14th article, it says proposed. So that one's debunked. They did ask for it. They did propose it. They did say, hey, but it was not nurses and doctors per se. It was the audiologists. It was MRI techs, lab techs. Well, no, it wasn't even lab techs. I'm trying to go off of memory here. But you can look it up yourself on the government website, like on the, gov.ab.ca, and then look into the healthcare spending and that. And also look up the CBC article, because I believe that there's a link in that will take you to there. The other thing was the inflationary rate. The province is somehow responsible for the inflationary rate, and that they need to get spending under control, and that's so that they can better see to the needs of the people. I had no idea that each province was responsible for printing its own money. Now, can provinces and municipalities be responsible for some contribution to inflation? Absolutely. But the majority of the inflation comes from the federal government, of which we have right now a liberal government under Justin Trudeau. And that's just textbook facts. Like, just look it up. Who's responsible? Well, who prints the money? Hello, answered your question. Interest rates are a Bank of Canada issue, right? They set, the Bank of Canada sets the interest rate. And then, of course, we have the contention of the carbon tax that our current federal government is talking about tripling. Now, that puts the cost of transportation of goods up. That increases so many things, heating, electric, all across the board. Well, who do you think that gets passed on to? The consumer. Danielle Smith has actually suspended the provincial gas tax at the pumps to try and give some reprieve to people, because the most ridiculous thing, I don't know what has happened in Alberta, but we've got these governments that absolutely hate cars, hate vehicles, but yet our whole cities are based on being able to transport yourself. You have to have a car, you have to drive, unless of course you've got the time in the day to take a bus for an hour, when a car drive takes you 15 to 20 minutes. If you've got that extra time, okay, great, then take the bus. Either way, though, you do need to rely on transportation. We don't have communities where we have access to everything around us. We're not like little pods. Our cities are spread wide. We are always talking about urban sprawl and everything like that, but we still have so much land compared to so many other places. We have a low population and a huge amount of land, and we do try to consume as much of that land. So we build these cities that sprawl across the countryside and then try to make it impossible for people to drive their cars. And this carbon tax at the federal level is one of those things that's making it next to impossible for people to be able to do that. So you have to imagine how much gasoline it takes to put into a truck, like a transportation truck, a transportation of goods, a semi, right? How much do you think one fill-up costs those drivers? And that cost is going to continue to increase. As far as I understand right now in Canada, it can, like, one fill-up can cost you a couple of thousands of dollars right now. And that's going to increase, and that gets passed down. But how is this a provincial problem? How is this on the provincial government? And I don't care what government it is. The provincial government does not print the money. The provincial government is not the one instituting this federal carbon tax. The provincial government is not the one that sets the interest rates. None of that is provincial jurisdiction or responsibility. So now we're talking about a whole bunch of people with designations after their names, some of them, that don't even understand what level of government is responsible for what part of our economy and our quality of life. It's just... Now, that being said, it was the provincial government that took the caps off of insurance and all of that sort of thing. Now, I understand the gist behind that. Conservatives, one of the mandates is as little government as possible. They shouldn't be mandating free market. They shouldn't be mandating business, that sort of thing, how people do business. I get that. But we were already in a recession. The middle of a recession is not the time to be taking those kind of caps off of off of heating and electricity, off of insurance, off of all of those things. The insurance companies, ever since those caps have been removed, have treated the people in a disgusting fashion, basically almost extortive. any excuse that they can come up with to, oh, well, now you have to pay the full year up front. We're not offering you, a monthly payment. Oh, and while we're at it, we're also going to increase your premiums by 10 to 15%, just because we can, because we haven't been able to for the last 3 years. So, despite the fact that if you go on to, the Google and look it up. Again, they're just like the banks. They've been making money hand over fist, even with the caps on. But got to do the greedy grab and hit the people while they're, kick the people while they're down, and treat them like garbage. So was that a good decision on behalf of the government? No, absolutely not. While I am all for get the government out, just minimize what the government can do and the control that they have, while I'm for that, I'm also for allowing the people to be able to feed themselves and house themselves and clothe themselves and not have to choose between, which one of those do we get to do this month, and taking the caps off of those regulated bodies. The timing of that was all wrong, and it is definitely helping to contribute to the hardship that people are feeling right now, post-pandemic, in a global recession. So anybody who, wants to make that argument, you're right. I'm 100% on board with you under that. Now, as for one of the other statements that was made, unemployment. Well, in May of 2020, pandemic, we had a 15% unemployment rate. This is all on the Government of Alberta and Government of Canada website. However, as of October this year, we had 5.2% of unemployment. Compare that to October 2017 when it was 7.6%. It was pre-pandemic, pre-recession. Okay, it was just the very beginnings of the recession. So we were starting to feel it, but not, 7.6%, and that was the NDP government, right? Here's the thing. Agree with me, disagree with me, whatever. Bring your facts. Sometimes I even need, I'll tell you, I need a moment to do some research on that because I don't know anything about it. Because you know what? I'm only one person with one brain. I can't possibly know everything. But it's become very, very clear after trying to have conversations with people, after seeing what people are posting in that people they don't want common sense. They're not open to hearing, because even when you can absolutely prove that what they're saying is wrong, they will still hold true to what they're saying, because I guess maybe we just don't want to admit we could be wrong. I have no idea. All I know is that right now we're in this cycle, this circle, this frustrating cycle of one side going, you need to do this, and then the other side going, you know what, maybe you've got a point. We should do something about that. And then when they do something about it, the other side going, oh, you're just buying votes. Well, we have an affordability program right now. One of the main features of that affordability program is, and for everybody in the United States or outside of Canada, when you hear universal health care, that is not Canada. We have universal basic health care. Our dental is not covered. Our optical is not covered. I mean, can I go and have a baby? Well, I can't anymore, but could I if I wanted to? Yes, I've done it 3 times. I've gone into a hospital, I have produced a child, I have left the hospital and not had a bill to pay. Yes, those sorts of things we can do, but we don't have dental, we don't have psychiatric care, we don't have any of those things covered. Our province does have a program for mental health called Access 24/7, but the wait lists are long to get into counseling, and the only way that you can do counseling through them right now is group therapy. Because they've got to try and keep the costs down, and they're trying to get as many people in and get them whatever kind of help that they can in a decent time period, because otherwise the wait lists would be months and months long instead of a few weeks. But to go and see a counselor or a psychiatrist or whatever, that's not covered. So we've got a health, we're going to be getting a health spending account, which is $300 per member of a household over, I think, the age of 16 or something like that. It's to cover costs that are not covered by the base universal health care so that people can get the other help that they need and can better support families. So the NDP government is always about, oh, you've got to help the people, you've got to help the, like, what are you doing for the people? You guys don't care about people. All you care about is numbers. Now we have a program where we care about people, and these things are going to be implemented. And there's other things too. There's a whole list of things on this affordability program. And what's the NDP doing? Oh, now you're just buying votes. Well, no, they're doing what the government's supposed to do. And they are trying to get spending under control, because they're doing this without increasing taxes. There's no proposed increase to taxes on this. As a matter of fact, like I said, we're reducing gas taxes. Or they are, sorry. I'm just thinking of it in terms of the Alberta government. So they're trying to make sure that we can afford to live and eat and do all of those things, and that the people are cared for, while also seeing to the things that the government is responsible for, like providing those services and trying to make our communities safer and all of these things. But you just can't please them, right? And so you get stuck in this cycle. They won't concede and say, you know what, hey, that's a good idea. Instead, she says, oh, they're going to privatize our health care. No, because Danielle Smith has actually stated publicly in an interview that those health spending accounts are to cover things not covered by the universal basic health care system. My basic question to everybody out there is, how long are we going to be happy with this? How long are we going to be satisfied with this? Is this really how you want decisions to be made? Is this really, do you want to just keep voting for people that actually don't intend to do? Like, we've seen so many things. There's history. We've got actual historical, recent historical information and data. Why are we all so content to just know what we know, to stick to our guns, to get angry and rage when we get proven wrong? Do we not understand that we're like Nero? Like, we are figuratively burning down our city, burning down our province, simply because we don't want to have intelligent discourse, simply because we don't want to actually find the facts, because we simply don't want to be wrong. We want our socialist utopia, or we want our perfect free market system, which, by the way, guys, history has proven neither of them work in the pure form. We've never even been able to achieve them in their purest of forms. We need a balance of the two. We need to have social structure and social net, as well as economic saneness. Saying that the free market will just solve all the problems, and that, there's been less of this and that under the free, it's just going to solve, is basically the same statement as budgets balance themselves. It's not going to work like that. And until we can get back to a point of common sense, looking at the facts, trying to find the best of both systems, and pulling them together to actually do what is good and what is right and what is best for the citizens, we're just going to have to be content with the fact that our province is about to burn down. That is this week's episode of Did That Just Happen? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave your comments. send us your comments. There's an email. Yeah, let me know what you think. Next week, we actually have a guest coming on. Dee Mago from Happy Naked will be talking about the current trends of body positivity versus health. Well, maybe it's not even versus health, but compared to overall health and healthy messages to people, to youth coming up. Yeah, so we're going to have a conversation around that next week. My first guest. Yay, so be sure to tune in. Talk to you later.